Americans thrive on mobility. Mobility means we're able to get to the places we need to go and do the things we want to do. It means we can enjoy our way of life, jobs, families, the fresh food we eat, and all the things we use every day to be productive and have fun. It takes energy to meet America's mobility needs. The energy we rely on every day comes from petroleum refined in the USA. For more than a century, there has been a strong need and desire for mobility, which has shaped the world's most economical and efficient energy manufacturing and distribution systems. The different types of mobility we've come to rely on require different types of fuel, whether we're traveling by land, air, or sea. We've grown accustomed to having easy access to clean, abundant, reliable, and affordable fuels. But when we put them into our vehicles, we don't think much about how it got to the gas pump or where it came from, even though getting it there efficiently means it's affordable and available when we need it.
To keep up with the demand for fuels, refiners doing several things. First of all, we try to make the best use of the capacity that we have. Keep all of our units full so we maximize production. Second thing is keep the plants on stream, running reliably, 24/7, 365. And third, of utmost importance is that we do this safely and we maintain good environmental practices.
Many people realize that the fuels we use come from the refining of crude oil, but they don't know what's involved in getting it to consumers. These fuels travel many miles by different modes of transportation once they've been refined. Let's look at the steps involved in getting one very common refined fuel, gasoline, into our gas tanks. Beginning at the pump, we'll track how it gets here from the refinery. Most gasoline is trucked to service stations on our nation's highways and roads from large terminals that store several types of fuels. Getting the fuel to those terminals is quite different. Instead of trucks, it flows along thousands of miles of high-tech pipelines from refineries, with smaller amounts arriving by rail and barge. Before the refined fuels flow through the pipelines to consumers, they are manufactured at petroleum refineries. During the refining process, a number of products are produced simultaneously in a complex, integrated manufacturing process. These products include a number of transportation fuels, including jet fuel and diesel, and other products derived from petroleum, like lubricants and waxes. Just as each product is different, not all crude oil is created equal, and the differences are quite important and affect the operation of the refining processes. There are many different types of crude oil extracted around the world, each with its own particular characteristics. Generally, crude oil is a mixture of hydrocarbons with a small amount of other impurities, such as sulfur, nitrogen, phosphorus, and other metals. These impurities heavily influence the economics of the refining process. The refining process is an intense application of sophisticated technologies and engineering that almost seems magical. Through this process, refiners can take virtually unusable crude oil and turn it into highly valuable fuels. A barrel of crude oil contains only raw versions of the fuels used by consumers today. Each barrel is processed to maximize the amount of materials that are most desired, usually gasoline. Because oil is refiners' largest expense, choosing the right refining technologies to process it is critical and is just one factor that influences the cost at the pump. The main factor determining the price at the pump, however, is the price of crude oil, which is set on the world market and influenced by supply and demand. Petroleum refiners evaluate dozens of crude oils to determine the most economically viable feedstocks to purchase for their facilities. The next step in the process is production planning, where complex specialized computer programs balance hundreds of variables and constraints to determine the best mix of fuel products while minimizing the overall manufacturing cost. Reducing production costs is an essential part of being competitive and results in lower prices for consumers. Petroleum refineries actually incorporate several distinct sections called process units into the overall manufacturing process. Each process unit optimizes a specific physical or chemical reaction. These reactions include rearranging molecular structures and removing impurities. Together, these units operate to meet rigid specifications for several types of gasoline, diesel fuels, jet fuel, and other products. The conversion of crude oil into clean, modern fuels by our nation's refiners is accomplished by American ingenuity that makes refining lean and efficient.
On a daily basis, people don't realize that everything they use probably comes from an oil-based product. Whether it be the gallon of milk that they drink, the plastic jug, whether it be the tires they're riding on their vehicle, or the gasoline they use. It's just, everyone takes it for granted because they don't really know where it comes from.
These fuels make life as we know it in the 21st century possible. They power more than 250 million passenger vehicles in the United States, as well as jetliners that carry millions of people across America and around the world. The farmers and ranchers who produce the food we eat run their equipment and vehicles on refined fuels. They power the trucks that transport food and every other product through the supply chain onto the shelves of stores, from mom-and-pop neighborhood shops to big-box retailers, to the kitchens of diners and five-star restaurants. Refined fuels are the backbone of the American military forces that serve and protect our nation. It's hard to imagine that at the turn of the 20th century, cars were a luxury enjoyed only by the wealthy. Flying was an activity reserved for birds and adventurers in gliders and balloons. Horses remained the dominant mode of transportation for short distances, and trains were favored for long trips. In the early years of the automobile, petroleum fuels won out over other energy sources of the day, including steam, electricity, and even gunpowder, because they provided better efficiency, more power, and greater range at a lower cost. Today, they continue to provide great efficiency and economy to consumers. More than 100 years later, crude oil and natural gas continue to be nature's greatest energy source, producing energy more efficiently and affordably than any other fuel.
The key innovation has really been the application of process control technology. Computers, high-speed, sophisticated, that model, control the process to help us improve safety, reliability, capacity, and reduce environmental incidents.
No one knows what the world will be like in 100 years, but it's almost certain that our nation's refiners will still be manufacturing proven, reliable, effective, and beneficial fuels and petrochemicals to serve future generations. To learn more, visit afpm.org.